Dwayne Naracco from CBMIC, and you are watching CBMIC Backstage TV. We are on location in downtown Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, and we are here for ECMA 2019. And coming right up, I'm going to have a chat with Phil McIntyre from New England Celtic Arts. Stick around. Welcome back to CBMIC Backstage TV, and we are here at ECMA 2019, and it's funny, there's a lot of people floating around here. You run into a lot of people, but you never know who's going to pop by, and we've got really fortunate. We're going to have a chat here with Mr. Phil McIntyre. How you doing, Phil?
Dwayne, it's good to be here.
Nice, pleased to have you with us. Phil is from New England Celtic Arts, and we're going to jump right in. I'm going to ask Phil to tell us a little bit about how he got started in the whole music business, and then we'll kind of move on and find out how it all kind of comes together and how CBMIC actually plays into the picture. Tell us a little bit there, Phil.
Well, very good. Yes, I started looking for Celtic music because my name is McIntyre, and I knew that I had a Celtic heritage, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So my wife and I went to Scotland several times and looking for traditional Celtic music. And all we could find in the bars over there was Johnny Cash karaoke.
What is that? Right?
And so finally we went to Inverness and went to the Interpretive Center there.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 1999.
Really?
And Celtic Colors had just been going for,
Plus,
would have been their third
starting
year,
out,
because they started in 97.
Yeah.
So my wife talked to the lady there at the desk, and we said we were looking for traditional Celtic music. And she said, "Where are you from?" And we said, "Maine." She said, "Why are you here looking for music? You should go to Cape Breton to Celtic Colors." Never heard of Celtic Colors. Went home, got on the internet, came the next year, and we were blown away. I was literally blown away. When I heard the music at Celtic Colors, I knew that was my music.
Perfect.
I mean, it was in my soul.
Wow.
So anyway, to really shorten this story, we'll forward to 2003.
Okay.
I was at the Gaelic College, 3 o'clock in the morning. John Allen Cameron is on stage singing the Four Marys.
Yeah.
Okay? And you've heard artists talk about composition, how it sometimes just pops in.
Yes.
I had an experience of composition, but it wasn't music
Okay.
with notes and what have you. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I had a lot of businesses and mostly promoting things.
Right.
Into my head floods hours and hours of information in a second.
Okay.
And what that amounted to was how to do this, how to take the music to Maine and how to share it with others and make people aware of Celtic Colors in Maine. Now this is an odd story, but it is true.
Okay.
And I was absolutely floored by this experience. It was like seeing a UFO, and you don't want to tell anybody because they'll know you're crazy. But in the last 15 or 20 years, everyone realizes that I am crazy because of all the things that I've done with music. But it basically all came from that one experience at Celtic Colors. Yeah. It popped into my mind in a second, but yet it was so full that I couldn't write it all down in 10 hours if I had the time. But I went home and I put into action what had been given me. And that's the only way I can explain it. It had been given to me. Okay. And so when something is given to you, you have no choice but to act on what's given you. Because it was of such a nature that I knew it had to be done. Yeah. So I started very slowly, and as time went on, now we'll go up to 2005, I made a decision that I was going to liquidate my business, which was a large salvage business.
Wow.
I had 1,200 antique Fords. And
1,200?
1,200. I had a huge parts building, and I was having trouble with permits and things, so I sold off the yard completely. And I rebuilt the parts warehouse into a performing arts center.
Wow.
Isn't that what you do with a junkyard when you're done with it?
Now it is.
And I started presenting music. Actually, Dave Gunning was the first
Was he?
tour that I did with Samantha Robichaux and Don Roy from Maine.
Wow.
And I've always had this idea that if you take artists that are unknown in your region and pair them up with artists that are well known, it will be very successful, and it will be a real launch pad for the artists that are coming in. And I've done a lot of that.
Right.
And it's been very successful.
I tend to agree with that.
It's been very successful. Now we're going to fast forward a little further. 2005, I started that. 2010 now. I'd had a lot of experience by now, 5 years of putting shows together and working with people. And I have another little brief thing of composition. And it involved Celtic colors, of course. So what I did, I went to the leading folk festival in Maine, and that was the American Folk Festival. And I got the director to agree to come to the ECMAs, which took place in Sydney, Cape Breton. Okay. And then I got a hold of Joella Folds, and I pitched an idea. We came up to the festival, and I took Heather McCarthy to the individuals that I wanted to select to bring to Maine. And those individuals were Colin Grant, Jason Roach, Chrissy Crowley, Rachel Davis.
See it all coming together now.
Yes, now you know where I'm going with this. So what I did is I persuaded Joella to allow these 5 young people to come to Maine and represent Celtic colors. And we branded it as a taste of Celtic colors. And that's a brand that Joella used in the future. And it was very successful. So successful that those 5 young people, including Darren McMullen, went on to become a very vibrant band that is now just breaking ground everywhere.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Coed. Yeah.
And that was their start. And I could tell you a lot more and take a lot of time, but I'm not going to. Basically, what has happened is, to boil this all down, this one moment of composition that took place in my life at Celtic Colors has amounted to over 2,000 shows in the last 15 years.
That's incredible.
15, 16 years.
Wow.
And as time went on, it became more important for me to really connect with the artists of Cape Breton. And that's where CBMIC came into play. That's right. You people very graciously invite me to come up and expose me to these musicians. So I know that your primary job is to export musicians and to provide opportunities, but by inviting presenters from away to come here, you showcase them to us, and we are able to work with the artists to see who's ready, to see who's coming along, and it's been vital for me to come up on a regular basis, and I have to see what's happening in the music scene. I have used obviously artists from Ireland and Wales and England and Scotland and most of Atlantic Canada, but by far the backbone of what I've done has been Cape Breton musicians. I've built it on Cape Breton musicians. It's been extremely successful. Another brand that we came up with was Songs Beyond Borders that I have used many times in Maine. I started that with Carmel Michael.
Is that right?
And that was an offshoot of Celtic Colors. One year she developed a show at Celtic Colors using young Cape Breton songwriters, emerging artists.
Wow.
And so I invited Carmel down with her team, and they did several shows for us in New England, and it's really been a great partnership between yourself and Celtic Colors and New England Celtic Arts. We launched a big festival in Maine in 2013, and 60-70% of that festival were Cape Bretoners.
Amazing.
We had a big fiddle camp weekend in Maine just 3 weeks ago, and I got a call from Wendy McIsaac. Hey Phil, I'm coming to the fiddle camp as a teacher. Mac and I, can you help us out? Andrea Beaton and Troy called. Can you help us out? So I got them 2 gigs each on the way to the festival, and it makes it profitable and sustainable.
Of course.
Now, just one other point I want to make. Along with what I've done in New England in setting up house concert series, starting new performing arts centers that had never existed, we're now very active in the festival scene. And I work very closely with festivals like Milwaukee Irish Festival. And as a result, I'm able to work with their selection committee in selecting groups. And last year, the Stanfields went to Milwaukee, and they did fabulously well.
Yeah.
And it allows me to connect dots and to help artists get onto that larger stage and become known. Yeah. Now, this next year, I have a group from Newfoundland, Rum Ragged, that were at Celtic Colors, and they are going to Milwaukee this year. And I was able to get the East Pointers into Milwaukee. And so if you ask me, Phil, what do you do? I'll tell you, my answer is I open doors and connect dots.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
That's wonderful. Well, listen, thank you. That's like, even though we've worked together, like you explaining this to this magnitude is actually is good for me, because I don't even realize the actual scope of actually what goes on, and I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are watching, a lot of what Phil is talking about in regards to Celtic Colors and CBMIC is this program right here, the Presenters and Media Program, which is a buyer's program facilitated by CBMIC. And as Phil has mentioned, he's been a participant even before CBMIC was managing that program, previously run by Jennifer Curry in her company Hand Banana. And so what he's indicating is, we work hard to try and expose Cape Breton artists during Celtic Colors Festival to people like Phil. But Phil is a standout buyer, obviously, and has done a great deal of work with Cape Breton artists, and we certainly appreciate that. And I know the artists do too.
Yes.
And you've mentioned a couple of names here, and it's funny, we had Coig in this morning.
Oh, wonderful.
And they did an interview, and Chrissy and Jason played a little tune for us. And actually, just before we did the Radio ECMA this afternoon, I was talking to Carmel.
Oh.
And she's actually coming in later on this afternoon to have a chat. So it's just neat to
connect,
connecting all the dots. But that's really intriguing and interesting to hear all the activities. And clearly you've done a monumental amount of work putting a lot of things together. That's quite impressive for sure. And it was kind of really neat to see you here. I mean, we run into each other periodically at different things, like say Milwaukee. We ran into you down there, and that was a wonderful time.
And I MC for a lot of the
Cape
Breton
absolutely, which is fantastic.
And I MC at Celtic Colors as well.
You do, yes.
So it's really opened some doors for me personally.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful, and it's people like you that make it worthwhile for artists and even an organization like ourselves to try and carry on with the mindset of what we do. And
your funding is predicated on results.
100%.
And when you allow people like myself to come who are passionate about presenting what you have to offer, that creates results.
Absolutely.
And
well, that's connecting the whole thing, again, connecting the dots, as you said.
Connecting dots.
But, bringing that together and having people that are passionate on both ends, searching for the same sort of result
that's
in
right.
the end. That's, call that success.
Yes. And thank you.
Thank you for coming by. It was a real pleasure for you to stop in. I appreciate you taking a minute to come in, and I'm sure you have a busy schedule, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, and
Well, I hope to see Coig and many
Yeah.
others of
Yeah.
the Cape Bretoners this weekend.
for sure, yeah. Well, they're on tonight somewhere. I have to look it up again, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
They're playing at the Triangle
Is it-
and that church.
okay,
They're going to be
Trinity.
at Trinity Church.
Trinity Church
tonight.
Church.
Wonderful. So yeah, we're hoping to get
If
down
you
and
hear
film
them talk
that.
about Uncle Phil, now you-
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you know who they're talking about.
Well, thanks again, Phil.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Dwayne Ardacchio speaking with Phil McIntyre. Thank you so much for sticking around at CBMIC Backstage TV. Take a minute to say thank you to ACOA, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, Destination Cape Breton, Breton Brewing, 902 Advertising, and Rock Pixels Photography for sponsoring this a little event that we're trying to pull off here. It's been a great pleasure so far, and we have still one more night of CBMIC Backstage TV going on, and I hope you will dial in and watch more of our CBMIC videos. Take care.